Good day. This is Miss Clark Reads to you, and today we are reading the online version of the short story titled The Love Letter. We will be analyzing the plot. So I have the story volcano behind me, set with the setting, characters, conflicts, the rising of the volcanoes where we'll put our rising action. We'll figure out what the climax is, the height of action. And then when we're finished, we'll analyze our falling action on the other side of the volcano, and we'll analyze how the conflict is resolved and what the theme of this particular text may be. So this may take me three teaching videos to get through the entirety of the text and the teaching. So just be patient and we'll work through this together. The Love Letter by Jack Finney. I've heard of secret drawers in old desks, of course. Who hasn't? So I love the hook here that we've got a secret to start, and then the writer is directly speaking to you and to me as his readers. Who hasn't? Who hasn't heard of secret drawers in desks? Everybody's heard of that, right? But the day I bought my desk, I wasn't thinking of secret drawers. And I know very well I didn't have any least premonition or feeling of mystery about it. Meaning when I bought my desk, I didn't have a gut feeling or intuition feeling that there was something, that the desk was holding a secret. Immediately the desk is being personified here. It has a secret, like humans hold secrets. I spotted it in the window of a second-hand store near my apartment. Went in to look it over, and the proprietor, or the owner, told me where he got it. It came from one of the last of the big old mid-Victorian houses in Brooklyn. They were tearing it down over on Brock Place, a few blocks away, and he'd bought the desk along with some other furniture, dishes, glassware, light fixtures, and so on. But it didn't stir my imagination particularly. I never wondered or cared who might have used it long ago. I bought it and lugged it home because it was cheap and because it was small. A legless little wall desk that I fastened to my living room wall with heavy screws directly into the studding. So it's one of those desks that my desk is sitting, it has legs, it has drawers that I can open up. But this desk is one that you would fasten to the wall with screws, which you would find the posts in the wall. You would just fasten it into the drywall, because if you put any pressure on it, it would just fall off. Okay, so he opens it and he can close it, and the part that opens, that's where he can write his letters. I'm 24 years old, tall and thin, and I live in Brooklyn to save money and work in Manhattan to make it. When you're 24 and a bachelor, meaning not married, you usually figure you'll be married before much longer. Now, here's a great place where if you didn't know what a bachelor was, you would use those context clues to figure out what a bachelor is. When he says you usually figure you'll be married before much longer. That's the hint that a bachelor means not married. Since they tell me that takes money, I'm reasonably ambitious and bring work home from the office every once in a while. And maybe every couple weeks or so, I write a letter to my folks in Florida. So I've been needing a desk. There's no table in my phone booth kitchenette. And I'd been trying to work at a wobbly little end table I couldn't get my knees under. So I bought the desk one Saturday afternoon, and I spent an hour or more fastening it to the wall. It was after 6 when I finished. I had a date that night, and so I had time to stand and admire it for only a minute or so. It was made of heavy wood with a slant top, like a kid's school desk, and with the same sort of space underneath to put things into. But the back of it rose a good 2 feet above the desk top. and it was full of pigeonholes, like an old style roll top desk. Underneath the pigeonholes was a row of three brass knobbed little drawers. It was all pretty ornate. The drawer ends were carved, some fancy scroll work extending up over the back and out from the sides to help brace it against the wall. I dragged a chair up, sat down at the desk to try it for height, then got showered, shaved, and dressed, and went over to Manhattan to pick up my date. So now we have the full exposition. We have been exposed to all the important details of this text. So we have the setting, which is Brooklyn and Manhattan. That's where he works. He lives in Brooklyn to save money. And New York State. Okay. We have the narrator. And if you study it, you can figure out that it's a first person point of view, meaning I'm 24 years old. So 24, bachelor. Now, I'm not going to put that it's a man because a bachelor tells us it's a male. If we said bachelorette, that would tell us the character's a female. We don't really have a conflict yet. We're building up to that. Our rising action is bought desk. Now, I don't really know. So I have a where, but I don't really have a when. Which is interesting because I can get clued into my when a little bit by the fact that he's not writing emails home, that he doesn't have a laptop. He looks for a desk to write letters on, to mail back home to his parents. Okay? It's ornate. The desk is ornate. If you think about an ornament, it has all these beautiful carvings in it. And it's a wall desk. Now, if you're not sure what a wall desk might look like, you could Google wall desks to get yourself a more visual picture if the description there was not visual enough for you. Okay? And now he goes on his date. All right. I'm trying to be honest about what happened, and I'm convinced that includes the way I felt when I got home around 2 or 2:30 that morning. That's very interesting because New Yorkers their nights don't even start until midnight. So he clearly had a good time if he was with this date till 2:30 in the morning. I'm certain that what happened wouldn't have happened at all if I'd felt any other way. So this is where we get inside to the narrator's thinking. Well, what do you mean, felt any other way? You're giving me some suspense here, narrator. What is it that you feel, and what is it that's going to happen that convinced you that what was happening was real around this desk that we know because he told us already it has a secret drawer? I'd had a good enough time that evening. We'd gone to an early movie. That wasn't too bad, and then had dinner, a drink or so, and some dancing afterward. And the girl, Roberta Haig, is pretty nice, bright, pleasant, good looking. But walking home from the subway, the Brooklyn streets quiet and deserted, it occurred to me that while I'd probably see her again, I didn't really care whether I did or not. And I wondered, as I often had lately, whether there was something wrong with me and whether I'd ever meet a girl I desperately wanted to be with. The only way a man can get married, it seems to me. So what he wants is he has this desperate desire for deep love. That's the only reason he would get married. So when I stepped into my apartment, I knew I wasn't going to feel like sleep for a while. I was restless, half irritated for no good reason, and I took off my coat and yanked down my tie, wondering whether I wanted a drink or some coffee. Then I'd have forgotten about it. I saw the desk I'd bought that afternoon, and I walked over it and sat down at it and thoroughly examining it for the first time. So I always think about when I get something new, whether it's sneakers, shoes, a laptop, a phone, a game, whatever you get that's new, you want to play with it a little bit and see the components of it. And he hasn't really had time to do that. He got it screwed up on the wall. He looked at it a little bit, and now he's really going to hang out with the desk and maybe use it, make himself a cup of coffee and, enjoy his purchase. I lifted the top and stared down into the empty space underneath it. Lifted it. Lowering the top, I reached into one of the pigeonholes, and my hand and shirt came out streaked with old dust. The holes were a good foot deep. I pulled open one of the little brass knob drawers, and there was a shred of paper. Just a shred, a ripping of paper. This is an old receipt, but we can use that as an example. In one of its corners, and nothing else. I pulled the drawer out all the way, and I studied the construction, turning it in my hands. It was solidly made, beautifully mortised little thing. And then I pushed my hand into the drawer opening, and it went into about the middle of my hand before my fingers touched the back, and there was nothing in there. And for a few minutes I sat at the desk thinking vaguely that I could write a letter to my folks, and then it suddenly occurred to me that the little drawer in my hand was only half a foot long. And while the pigeonholes above the drawer extended a good foot back. So the drawer is only this long. The desk width of the pigeonholes is this long. And so I shoved my hand into the opening again, exploring with my fingertips, and I found a tiny grooved indentation, and I pulled out a secret drawer, which lay in back of that first drawer. And for an instant, I was excited at the glimpse of papers inside it. Then I felt a stab of disappointment as I saw what they were. There was a little sheaf of folded writing paper, plain white, yellowed with age at the edges, and the sheets were all blank. And there were 3 or 4 blank envelopes to match, and underneath them a small, round glass bottle of ink. And because it had been upside down, the cork remaining moist and tight in the bottle, a good third of the ink had remained unevaporated still. But beside the bottle lay a plain, blank wooden pen holder. The pen point, reddish black with old ink, and then there was nothing else in the drawer. And then putting the things back into the drawer, I felt the slight extra thickness of one of the blank envelopes, and I saw it was sealed. And I ripped it open to find the letter inside. The folder paper opened stiffly, the crease permanent with age. And even before I saw the date, I knew this letter was old. The handwriting was obviously feminine and beautifully clear. It's called Spencerian, isn't it? And the letters were perfectly formed and very ornate, and the capitals, especially being a whirl of dainty curlicues. And the ink was rust black, and the date at the top of the page was May 14th, 1882. And reading it, I saw it was a love letter. It began. So I'm going to stop there. And when we come back, I'll put some notes up on the rising action, and then we'll read the love letter from 1882. I've enjoyed reading to you, and I look forward to the second half of the love letter. Thank you.